Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Östersund for the last event in this 7th round of the Rugas Biathlon World Cup. It's the men's pursuit due underway very shortly indeed, a race that is based on the results of the previous sprint race, and Norway once again being successful. Frode Andersen this time getting his 4th win of the season. He is going to start this event and he's got a slim lead over Wolfgang Rottmann of Austria and Ola Einar Bjorndalen, 33 seconds behind his teammate Frode Andersen. So those are the leading three, and by all rights should be the favourites for today's race, but plenty of talent further down the field. Raphael Poiret, the best of the Frenchmen, starts for Oleg Maluhin of Latvia. Great race in the sprint, finishing 5th, and he starts just 50 seconds down. Pavel Rostovtsev of Russia, been on good form, not the fastest of skiers, but he's very accurate in the range, and a clear shoot today for Rostovtsev could give him a chance of a podium finish. Sylvest Glimsdal of Norway, great run, 7th position in the sprint, a personal best for the season, and seems to be coming to form right at the right time of the season, with just 1 week to go now before the World Championships start in Oslo, a little further south of here. Well, we're in Östersund, which is halfway up Sweden, just to the east of Trondheim, around 150 kilometers, and the same sort of distance west of Sundsvall in the on the eastern side of Sweden. So away goes Frode Andersen, whose form has fluctuated from week to week this season. 25-year-old from Hörnefors, not so far from the World Championship tracks. And Andersen looking very good on the skis. The big question today, can he shoot enough targets to take the victory? It's going to be Wolfgang Rottmann who goes next, but a 25-second margin between himself and the leader, and Rottmann has really come to form since Walter Meyer got involved with the Austrian team. Ola Einar Bjorndalen, 26-year-old, the World Cup leader, and hence he wears the yellow bib. Very quick indeed. 2 clear shoots at the beginning of the race will give Bjorndalen a chance of another victory this season. Poiret gets underway, the best of the Frenchman, who's been on tremendous form since the Christmas break. 8 times in the top 4, and that includes all the races, so 8 consecutive top 4 results for Poiret. Maluhin going after him, then Pavel Rostovtsev of Russia. Often shoots his best in the pursuit. Sylvest Glimsdal going number 7. Just behind him, 1 second, Ludwig Gredler of Austria, one of 3 Austrians in the top 10. Then Sven Fischer, the bronze medalist from the World Championships. Wolfgang Perner, there's the 3rd Austrian out on the tracks. Could they get another individual victory? Paavo Purinen, the best of the Finns, is underway. Then Thomas Sikora, the individual world champion from way back in 1995. Peter Garabich of the Czech Republic underway, 1:19 behind the leaders. He's been ill since Christmas, so a little bit of an unknown quantity in today's events, but a good run by Garabich in the sprint race to get a 13th position. Frode Andersen, he's not hanging around. Very tall man, over 6'4", and that's no problem with the skiing. He uses his limbs to good effect, a perfect technician, and in fact gears his skiing on the style of Ola Einar Bjorndalen, and along with Bjorndalen, these two are the best skiers on the tour. There's no doubt about that. Certain tracks don't suit their style, but on the whole, they are pretty unbeatable as far as the skiing goes. But the shooting can often be Andersen's undoing. Wolfgang Rottmann holding on to 2nd place, and here is the most fluent of all the skiers, Ola Einar Bjorndalen. Superb technician, spends much of his time in the gym just working on his balance, working on the technique. He realizes that is the difference between himself and many of the other top athletes. Here's another man who bases his technique on the Norwegian style. Raphael Poiret, got a Norwegian girlfriend who's on the World Cup tour, and spends much of his time training up in Scandinavia, and hence his style looks fluent and easy like the Scandinavians. Very much in contrast to the Germans, who tend to rely on power to get their way round. And that's also a result of their training areas. The German team based down in Ruhpolding in the very south of Germany, just 10 kilometers or so from the Austrian border, where the tracks are certainly different to those encountered up in Scandinavia. Short, sharp hills in Ruhpolding. They're very steep hills indeed. It's rather like doing an interval session when you race down there. and hence the Germans have developed this sort of sprint power that suits their performances down there, and Ruhpolding, the venue where the Germans got their best results so far this season. Bjorn Dahlen looks to be going well. He's opened up a bit of a gap over Raphael Poiret, but no change in the top four in this early stage of the men's pursuit. Energetic style from Raphael Poiret, dancing his way round the course. And many of you who've been involved in cross-country skiing will now know that these techniques are now known as single dance or double dance, terminology that's come over from the States, but it suits the modern technique. Frode Andersen looking cool now as he comes towards the range for the first time. And I wonder what Andersen's tactics are going to be. He's got 25 seconds lead, maybe even more by now, over the chasing pack led by Wolfgang Rottmann of Austria. And so Andersen can certainly afford to miss one target, but I think he's got to ensure that he hits the prone targets, because it's the standing that's given him the problems so far this season. And if he can go clear on the 10 prone shoots, then Andersen will have built himself a little bit of a margin to play with when it comes in for the final two shoots, where the pressure is certainly at its greatest. Rottmann has now been caught by Ola and Bjorn Dahlen, but Bjorn Dahlen may just settle the pace as he comes in for the first shoot. Been a great season for the Norwegians. They've won 12 of the 16 races held so far, and the majority of the victories being shared by this man, Frode Andersen, and Ola Einar Bjorndalen, who heads the World Cup table. 4 for Bjorndalen. And 4 for Andersen. Good start. Well, no one can argue with that, and Andersen just completing his first shoot, 5 out of 5. Not the fastest shoot we've seen from him, taking maybe 4 or 5 seconds longer than normal to settle. So maybe that's the tactics he's going to employ. Just settle down on the prone, hit the prones. Maybe he'll be a bit quicker on the standing. But certainly he's not going to be challenged for the next 2.5 kilometers. There's no one out on the course who can catch him. Ola Einar Bjorndalen going out, and he's gone well. Wolfgang Rottmann of Austria missed his first 2 targets. That's bad news for the Austrian. Needed to hit all the prones to give himself a chance of a second podium finish. But it's Norway 1 and 2 at the moment. Bjorndalen going out 26 seconds behind, having started 33. So he's closed 7 seconds on his teammate, but still out of sight. And I think we're going to see Andersen leading by the time they come into the range for the second time. But watch the time gap. It's going to be interesting to see which of those two is skiing quicker today. 26.5 the difference as they come out of the range for the first time. Poiret coming out in 3rd place, and his time margin 50 seconds, and Poiret shooting clear. So the leading 3 all going clear on that first prone, and missed targets being punished heavily. Rottmann right out of the top 5 already. Rostovtsev has made good ground, 1:07 behind. We'll check his starting time. He started in 6th, 1 minute behind, so he hasn't gained anything, but he hasn't really lost too much either. So Rostovtsev a good start. Maluhins of Latvia into 5th position, where he started, but he's lost 12 seconds to the leaders, but holding his own as far as his position is concerned. Well, that's the first shoot completed, and Norway leading with the first 2 men. It's Andersen who leads, Bjorndalen in 2nd, and Poiret now in 3rd. Welcome back to Östersund. No change in the leader. It was Frode Andersen who led the way with a gap of 24 seconds at the start of the race over Wolfgang Rottmann, and he's managed to maintain that. Rottmann dropping down the order. In fact, on the first shoot, 12 of the first 15 all shooting perfectly, 5 with 5. but all three Austrians missing targets. Rodman missing 2, and Gredler and Perner missing 1 apiece. And it doesn't matter how much better their skiing is this season. If they're going to miss targets this early on in pursuit races, they can count themselves out of podium finishes. So Bjorn Dahlin, 25.5. It was 25.3 now, 25.5 at the last checkpoint as they came out of the range. So nothing between these two as far as the skiing goes. Raphael Poiré still looking nice and agile and light on the feet. You can see he's got the new Rossignol system on his feet, and both Salomon and Rossignol developing boots and new bindings this season. And having spoken to some of the athletes, they said it 2 or 3 weeks to get used to the new equipment, but initially saying they didn't feel it made that much difference. But it did help them keep the ski a little bit flatter on the glide, and it also enabled them to narrow the angle of the skate. So instead of going out to the side too much, maybe 3 or 4 degrees towards the direction you're traveling, and add that up over 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, apply a little bit of Pythagoras, and it doesn't take much working out to understand that you're going to achieve quicker times. And having said they didn't feel the difference was too substantial, when I asked whether they'd switch back to the old equipment, they were all fairly adamant but that was not even a consideration. So if your old equipment is worn out, certainly worth looking into. It's not cheap, but the equipment, the plastics, the materials used nowadays, that much more durable. So Anderson coming through, clear on the first time, being chased now by Ola Einar Bjorn Dahlin. 25 seconds, the gap at the last of the split times. And the Norwegians will be skiing on the similar sort of wax. I think Bjorn Dahlin will have a better choice of ski. And they were up early in the morning testing skis. 5 o'clock, some of the team helpers are out. Floodlit speed traps, just finding out which of the bases are going best. And the Norwegians have put a lot of effort into stone grinding the base of the ski, and it's now understood that the structure of the base is just as important as the wax that is used on the ski. And the Norwegians certainly will enter the World Championships with an advantage on that front. Much of their training done in the Holmenkollen area, just above the city of Oslo, where the World Championships start next Saturday. So Anderson coming through, beautiful glide. You can see how easy he is on the ski, very relaxed, the balance absolutely perfect. And that just indicates how much less energy is being used to stay on the ski. And anyone who's tried a little bit of canoe racing in K1s or K2s will know how much hard work it is when you start the sport just staying upright. And it's a similar feeling on the ski. Initially, the balance is the major problem. And the Norwegians appreciate that and put a lot of effort into training purely for that. And most of that training done in the gym. Now, Anderson, 12:07 on the clock. If he goes clear, he should be out before Bjorn Dahlin gets the first target down. Always nice to hit the first one. Well, there's a carbon copy of Frode Anderson's first shoot, and he goes clear again. 12:30 the time, very quick for the first 2 shoots. And Frode Anderson taking 4 or 5 seconds longer than normal once again, so definitely that was his tactics, to settle slowly and then hit the targets. Bjorn Dahlin clear on the first shoot. Can he do it again on the second time round? There's the first miss for Ola Einar. Now that could cost him the second miss as well. And the third one's gone wide. So Bjorn Dahlin, I can't think of any explanation for that. The wind absolutely dead still. You can see the telltales hardly moving in the range area, and extraordinary performance from the World Cup leader, missing 3 targets on his second prone and opening the door up for the likes of Raphael Poiré. Anderson still with a lead, and that lead will have been built. Poiré goes clear again and is almost certainly going to go ahead of Olainen Bjorndalen, Oleg Maluhin of Latvia, he's coming up through the field. Pavel Rostovtsev started 6th and could come out in the top 5 if he hits the last one, and he does. So Rostovtsev is clear, Maluhin with one more to hit, and that's gone wide. Looks as though that's gone high right from Maluhin. Poirier comes out in second, 58 seconds behind. So Anderson will be very grateful to Olainen for that opportunity. Bjorndalen still on the penalty loop, out he comes. No, he's got one more to do, 3 in total. And the loop taking over 23 seconds today. And in fact, it's Rostovtsev who's gone through into 3rd place. He's gone clear for the 2nd successive time, 1:18 behind. The time margin has grown, but his position has improved. So Anderson, Poirier and Rostovtsev, the top 3 now, still waiting for Bjorndalen to come out. I think he's going to have 4th place, just 4th, just ahead of Maluhin. But we'll take another quick break with Norway leading 58 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Anderson still leading for Norway, and he's built a very respectable lead indeed, 58.9 seconds over Raphael Poirier of France. Olainen Bjorndalen, who was in 2nd place, has dropped right out of contention, having missed 3 targets on that 2nd prone shoot. There's still 2 standing shoots to go, and those are the ones that Anderson is going to find the more difficult. Looking a little tired as he comes round that right-hand corner, climbing out of the stadium area for the 3rd time. And he's still got another 2 loops to go after this. So I wonder whether Anderson can double up. He did the double in Pokluka, winning the sprint event there. And despite the fact that he missed 4 targets on the pursuit race, he still held his own to finish well ahead of the 2nd place, who was Peter Sendel on that day. But Peter Sendel not having a good day here in Östersund on the sprint event, finishing down in 36th position, missing just 2 targets. So a feeling that the bubble has burst for Peter Sendel. He's been having a very good season, up in the top 10 of the World Cup, but had a good run since Christmas. But looks just a little tired, or I wonder whether he's just holding back and saving his energies for the big competition next week. 56.8. Poirier has pulled just a little bit back on Anderson. Rostovtsev still in 3rd position. He's been losing ground all the way. Rostovtsev, a 28-year-old soldier, finished in 6th position in the World Cup last year. Certainly the most consistent of the Russians on the tour, but he needs to gain around 30 seconds every 10 kilometers to give himself a real chance of winning events. He's only got 1 win in his career. That came last year in an individual race. But Rostovtsev, if he wants to be a real challenger, he's got to gain maybe 2–2.5% on his skiing times to give himself that opportunity, because he's a very good marksman indeed. And so far today he's gone clear, and his standing shoot is usually every bit as good as his prone. Well, it's very tight between 4th and 12th. And you can see just how close they all are. In fact, Sven Fischer still in there with a shout, down in 18th position at the moment, 2 minutes 10 off the pace, but he's less than 50 seconds off 4th pace. So don't count Fischer out quite yet. Now, he was on brilliant form in Oslo last year, won just about all the events there. And Oslo doubling up as the World Championship event for a number of the events, simply because the conditions in Kontiolahti at the World Championships last year were far too cold to hold races. And David Goldstrom had the misfortune of being up there -20, -25 day after day. And in fact, only 2 of the World Championship events being able to be run. And the individual and the mass start both had to be held in Oslo at the end of the season. And Sven Fischer came through to win both of those events. And he'll be remembering those events and hoping that he can repeat that sort of form next week. So Anderson approaching the range. And he won't have too many fans up here, but they'll certainly be waiting for him down in Oslo. He's a man who spends a few of the summer months on his surfboard. In fact, not bad at it. Must be difficult when you're 6'4", and so must the standing shoot. The prone shoot's no problem, but at 6'4", the standing's certainly a little harder than the shorter figures, and that's indicated well by the fact that the women are now every bit as good as the men when it comes to this standing shoot. And any movement in the legs is multiplied that much more by the fact that he's so tall. First one's gone wide, second one's wide. Well, he's not hanging around. Well, 2 out of 5, and well, it's interesting to see. You don't need to feel too much sympathy, because that is all in the game plan for this Norwegian. He's taken his time on the prone shoots and made sure he's hit all of them. I think he feels that even if he takes his time, the chances are he's going to miss some of the standing, and so he hasn't wasted a fraction of a second. He's just come in 5 or 6 seconds to get his aim, and he's let them go, and he's missed all 3, and Poiret won't know it yet, because the target will have been corrected. So there won't be any sign of those missed targets, but he will see that Anderson is on the penalty loop. So a clear shoot for Poiret could well see the Frenchman into the lead. He's had a great season, lying in second place in the World Cup, been very consistent, and has been in the top 4 in 8 consecutive races. 1 miss, 4 hits, so he's going to go and join Anderson on the penalty loop, and Anderson will still be there and have at least another loop to go, so it's going to be a lot tighter between first and second, but I think Anderson might just hold on to it. Rostovtsev and Bjorndalen now settling. A little bit further down, we've got Maluhins of Latvia, we've got Hayatalahti, the great marksman from Finland. He's starting to come back to form, and in fact it is Anderson who goes out, but remember, he had 56 seconds advantage when he came into the range, and that is going to be cut drastically. Rostovtsev's gone clear again, and he's going to challenge for the top 2 positions. Very tight between Rostovtsev and Poiret. Poiret just getting out in front of him, 14.9. So he has gained a total of 42 seconds, with Rostovtsev gaining considerably more. He was 1:17 behind. He's gained almost 50 seconds on that 3rd shoot. So things tightening up in the lead, and those are the 3 big names challenging for first position. And Anderson, having had a minute's advantage, is now under a little bit of pressure, and that's when the mistakes tend to be made. Rico Gross coming into the fold, 41 seconds down, 4th position, and certainly a chance of a podium finish for the German. Kjelland has moved up 2 for Norway into 5th position. Bjorndalen missing targets again, down in 6th now, 55 seconds behind. Well, still the leader, but for the first time in the race, Anderson is within the sights of Raphael Poiret, and once in the sights, I think that is going to spur the Frenchman on to greater things. He's certainly picked up the tempo and will be cutting that deficit down. It was 14 seconds as they came out of the shooting area, and we will get another time split before they come in to shoot for the final time. But we'll take a quick break and leave with the top 3 positions lying Anderson, Poiret and Rostovtsev of Russia closing on the leaders. Anderson, there you see his shooting score, 3 missed on that first of the standing shoots, and he's still got 1 more to go. He'll already be getting just a touch nervous about that. And his margin was 14 seconds. He seems to have upped the pace. He knows he's got to build it to around 20 to be able to afford any missed targets at all. Raphael Poiret chasing hard for the French. He's never missed more than 1 since the Christmas break, so we shouldn't really expect him to do so on his final shoot. And if he can keep that record going, certainly a chance for Poiret to notch up yet another victory. Rostovtsev got the support of the massive Russian entourage that goes along with their athletes, 18 athletes, 18 helpers in all, and they have wax men. In fact, they have more than 1 wax man. They've got 3 or 4 of them involved in that. They have men who concentrate on the diet, physiotherapists, masseurs, the lot. Very professional approach indeed from the Russian team, and it's going well for them today with Rostovtsev in third. Rico Gross has come up through the order. He's lying in fourth position now, just 46 seconds down. Sjælland and Bjorndalen fighting it out to be the second of the Norwegians. And Maluhin of Latvia has dropped a little and has been joined by Jakob Nakums, his teammate, just in 7th and 8th positions. Well, that's the leader going through, and it looks as though he's built a bit of an advantage over Raphael Poiret. It was 14 seconds at the last count, and I think it's around 15-16 now. But Poiret hasn't let up one single bit. He's got Anderson just in front, Rostovtsev just behind, and I wonder what's going through the Frenchman's mind. Is he the positive type who's really concentrating on chasing the Norwegian, or is he now concerned about the presence of the Russian behind him? Very difficult situation for Poiret. Whatever is going on, he's got a fair amount of pressure on him. He will have got a little glance of Rostovtsev as he came round that corner, so he's well aware of the exact situation that he's in, and the pressure is as much on Poiret as it is on Anderson, who leads the way. Nothing to lose for Rostovtsev. Started in 6th. He's built his way up through the field. 3 perfect shoots, and he's into 3rd position. But he doesn't have the ski speed of either of the 2 men in front of him. So he's got to go clear again, and he's got to hope that both Anderson and Poiret missed targets. There's Rico Gross. He's not so far behind in 4th position. The man who had such a successful run in Ruhpolding, his home tracks, winning 2 of the individual events and bringing Germany home in the relay, just missing out on the 4th and final event of that meeting, the pursuit, where Poiret, in fact it was Gross who had 48-second lead as he came into the range for the last time, and he missed 3 targets. And just proving to us that he was actually human. He hadn't missed any targets in that competition up to date, 65 out of 65, but when it came to the last 5, his nerve finally broke. Well, Gross isn't under any real pressure today. 4th position and a chance to move into the podium finishes. And well, with 3 men in front, I guess the statisticians would say that at least one of them is going to make a mistake on this final shoot. Who is it going to be? Anderson, just a slim advantage over Poiret, and look at that last shoot he's had. 3 targets missed, didn't waste any time. He'll settle quickly again. I don't think he'll change his tactics now. Smooth drills, magazine loaded. The sight protection flap flicked up and out the way, and he's into his rhythm. First one's down. Good start. There's the first miss. This time Poiret will know what's going on. Now 1 more to go. Oh, and that's missed as well. Anderson is now definitely in trouble, and if Poiret can go clear, it could be a French victory on the cards. The Norwegian has missed 2, an extra 300 meters to ski. It took him 42 seconds last time. He won't improve on that, so 43-second advantage. Poiret holding, the rhythm is broken and the target's missed. So that is a little light let off for Anderson, but if this goes down, it's going to be very tight. Oh, would you believe it? The first time since Christmas that Raphael Poiret has missed more than 1 target, and it happens at a really crucial moment of the race. The victory was on the cards for France, but it's not going to happen now because Anderson has only got 2 leaps. Rostovtsev has gone clear. Now this could be the first time that the lead changes in this race in Östersund. The Russian has gone clear, but he's not as quick as Anderson, so we really have a very tight situation on our hands. Anderson will be coming out of the range soon, but it's not soon enough, and Russia have the lead with Rostovtsev. Well, Rostovtsev's only got 1 victory in his career. That happened last year, and he's got 6.7 seconds advantage over Anderson. Well, just what we ordered. The crowd will enjoy that one. They'll be sad that there are no Swedish competitors up at the front of the field, and that's been the same way for many years now in the men's event. The women, a very different story, with Magdalena Forsberg very much the star of the Women's World Cup. Rico Gross has gone into 3rd, 23 seconds, so he's gone clear on his final shoot. Poiret pushed from 2nd down to 4th, 30 seconds the margin, and Nakum has closed the gap again for Latvia. And just looking to see where Nakum started, he started 16th, 1:27 off the leaders, and he's gained nearly a full minute on Frode Andersen. So a great run from Jakob Nakums, and that stands him in good stead for the individual races in the World Championships next week. And don't rule him out, because he got a 5th position in the Olympic Games in the sprint event. An event that was won by Ola Einar Bjorndalen, who's not had the best of days here in Östersund. Started 3rd and missed targets on the prone. But all the action is happening up the front. Those are the first 3 going through, and for the first time today, Frode Andersen has lost the lead, but he's only got 6.5 seconds to close on the Russian Rostovtsev, and under normal circumstances, you would expect the Norwegian to be able to do that. But bear in mind that he had to pick the pace up on that 3rd loop just to stay ahead of the Frenchman Poiret. Well, Poiret has lost yet another place. Jakob Nakums coming through. And that has been very much the way things have gone for the Latvians. Their ski speed has increased over the last 2 seasons. And when they put a good shooting sequence together, they stand a very good chance of finishing in the top 3. Well, look at the difference between Rostovtsev and Andersen. 5 penalty loops skied by the Norwegian, 150 meters each loop, so a total of 750 meters, and that's a full 2 minutes worth of skiing. Rico Gross, he's also gone clear, so 2 of the top 3 positions have shot perfectly today, and Gross has done it before this season. He won the pursuit in the mass start in Ruhpolding. He failed on the pursuit, but today he's gone clear. Jakob Nakums has also gone clear and has taken himself from 16th up to 4th now, but Poiret, I think, is probably just sitting and waiting, but were he to turn it on a little earlier, then there's a chance of catching Rico Gross, who's only 50 meters in front of them. So that's the first 2 positions. And number 27 going through is Viktor Maigarov, who was 1:57 behind, and he's gained over a minute, so he's moved from 27th position into 7th. 20 positions gained, certainly the highest climber of the day. Well, that is the front of the race. 1 and 2, Rostovtsev in the lead. It was 6.7 seconds, and you can see that it's been reduced to about 6.7 meters. And the Norwegian now is really turning it on. The glide, he's gaining around 6 inches on every stride, and Rostovtsev changes style and technique, switching to the slightly slower, slightly less efficient style of skate 2. And Andersen has closed the gap. Look how efficiently he's done that. He just waits for the uphill sections, does all the work then, and then he's going to sit in behind Rostovtsev just for a few meters. The Norwegian ski's going very well. No doubt about it that the Norwegians have got both the base right and the wax, and he's torn past the Russian Rostovtsev. Well, what a shame. It would have been great to see yet another Russian victory. There haven't been that many this season. Only Vladimir Drachev has managed it for the Russians so far this year. And Rostovtsev so close. Well, he shot perfectly today, and he can't be faulted, but it's the same old story. We know he needs an extra 1-2% on his ski speed before he can be a really serious threat. And Frode Andersen has taken the lead. He won't be caught now. And once again, he's relied heavily on his skiing prowess to bring him home. And it's going to be a double victory for the Norwegian. Victory number 4 for Frode Andersen this year. And it's going to happen in a little over 30 seconds. Well, he makes it look so very, very easy. But you have to bear in mind the hours and hours of training that he puts in, up to 4 hours a day. And he lives, eats, breathes, sleeps skiing. And that's the way it has to be if you want to reach this level in World Cup competition. Frode Andersen is going to bring Norway home to get their 6th successive victory in the pursuit races this season. They've won 11 out of the 16 World Cups held this year, and here comes another victory for Team Norway. Fantastic result for Frode Andersen, making up for the dreadful shooting on the 3rd shoot, the first of the standing, 3 targets missed, and he shot very quickly, so he saved himself around 10 seconds with his drills, but in total, skiing 750 meters further than Pavel Rostovtsev. And Rostovtsev, who started in 6th, a minute behind, finishes just 4.9 seconds down off the lead. Podium position again for Rico Gross, and he'll move slowly up the order, but having started the season very slowly, and in fact having to sit out races in Pokluka because he wasn't healthy, Rico Gross has got too much to do to have any hope of taking the overall title this year, but he'll certainly be happy with that 3rd position, and that will boost him for his World Championship challenge. Raphael Poiré, disappointing 4th in the end, but he overtakes Jakub Nakums in the closing stages, and Nakums 5th position, not a bad run from him. Maybe he could be a potential medal winner in the World Championships. Certainly the Latvians will be looking to the likes of Nakums and Maluhins finishing in 8th position today. Great race for Viktor Maigarov, started 27th, finished in 7th position. Vladimir Drachev, another Russian in the top 10. He started a long way down the field. Sven Fischer finishing in 10th, and he'll be losing points to the likes of Raphael Poiré at the top of the World Cup table. And news coming in as Ola Einar Bjorndalen comes through that in fact there is going to be an official protest against Bjorndalen, and we're hearing that he's actually still got rounds of ammunition on the rifle, and if that is the case, then he will be disqualified from this race, and he will not pick up any World Cup points at all. And with Poiré finishing in 4th position, picking up 22 points, it could well be that the Frenchman goes top of the World Cup table. Frank Luck, 20th position, just a couple of points. That won't do his World Cup challenge any good at all. And Perner of Austria down to 22nd, having started in 10th. And Wolfgang Rottmann also dropping places. So all the Austrians, after a very impressive sprint race, dropping down the order. Peter Sendel just missing out on World Cup points, 26th position for him. And I wonder whether he's going to be able to regain the form that he showed us in Oberhof and Ruhpolding when he really justified his selection in the team. But Sendel seems to have lost his way a little over the last 3 or 4 days of competition. Dag Bjorndalen, 28th position, 2:32 behind. And he's going to have to find some form over the next week or so if he wants to be selected for that Norwegian relay team. And I know the Norwegians would love to see individual victories at the World Championships, but if they were to have a choice of which event they were going to win, if they were only going to win one event, I'm fairly sure they'd all choose the relay. They haven't won a major relay since 1962. They've been second on so many occasions, second in the Olympic Games in Nagano in '98, but that is the one that most of Norway want to win. And with Ola Einar Bjorndalen, Frode Andersen, Harvold Hannevold, Sylvester Glimsdal, Egil Kielland and Dag Bjorndalen to choose from, they really have the strength on paper to be victorious. But the pressure so often gets to them on the big occasion, where we've only got 12 days to wait and see who takes the gold in that event. The start of the World Championships a little closer. Next Saturday, the first event, it's the sprint events. And before we leave Östersund today, we'll flash up all the dates and the timings of those events coming up. Alexander Wolf of Germany, he missed targets early on and pushed right down to 44th position. And that's a disappointing run for him. I know he was looking for good results along with Morgenstern, hoping just to squeeze into the top 4 of the Germans to give themselves a chance of being in the team in Oslo. Jean-Marc Chablot is the best of the Swiss, down in 51st position, and the Swiss with a Swedish coach have not had any joy this season whatsoever. Maguro of Japan, 52nd, he's capable of much better than that. There's Harvold Hannevold coming through for the Norwegians, and Hannevold already had a victory this year, but his results are not consistent. But when he's on form and shooting well, he's certainly capable. Finishing 31st today, and he missed 3 targets on the standing, pushing him too far down. He started, in fact, in 54th position, so he's gained a fair margin. A disastrous run in the sprint for Harvold Hannevold, but gaining a lot of places today, but not as many as Viktor Maigarov, who went from 27th all the way up into 7th position. And the Russians all shooting well. Pavel Rostovtsev, we've seen coming through to take 2nd place. He's shot clear. Viktor Maigarov likewise. But I have to say, the shooting standard in the men's event, no better than it is in the women's at the moment. We saw some very impressive standing shooting from the women's event yesterday. That was won by the German youngster, Martina Glago, shooting 20 out of 20, showing incredible nerve on that final shoot, and a fast shoot and accurate as well. And the woman who's just come up from the Europa Cup tour has now put her name on the top of the favourites list for medals in the World Championships. And the likes of Magdalena Forsberg, Elena Zabrilova and Galina Kukleva, who were the favourites before the pursuit race yesterday in the women's event, will now have to take note of that youngster, Martina Glago. So she's a name to watch out for next week. And the women's tour, very exciting indeed, with lots of youngsters coming through. Glago is not the only one. Andrea Henkel, a German who's been on the tour for a couple of years, but started to hit good form. In the men's event, well, there are the top 8 positions. Only 4.9 seconds separating Anderson and Rostovtsev. And Rostovtsev, having started a full minute behind, made a good challenge, took the lead after the last shoot, but Anderson skiing too well, too fast to allow himself to lose that #1 spot. So a double victory for the Norwegian Anderson. Drachev, number 9, the 3rd Russian in the top 10. Sven Fischer just squeezing into the top 10. And he will keep his 3rd position in the World Cup. And you can see the star opposite Ola Einar Bjorndalen's name. He has been disqualified, and that for the reason we suggested earlier. He's finished the race and still got rounds of ammunition on his rifle. Quite how he achieved that, I have no idea at all, unless he squeezed 6 rounds into one of the magazines and was unaware of its presence. But that shouldn't normally be possible. But that is what has happened. Bjorndalen will gain no points for today's race, and he will lose the top spot in the World Cup as a result of that. Raphael Poiret of France now going to #1, Bjorndalen in 2nd, and Sven Fischer just hanging on to 3rd place. But he needs some good results. He certainly needs some victories if he wants to stay there. Well, that's the last of the races before the World Championships. The Norwegians have certainly shown that they're going to go to Oslo, Holmenkollen, with the purpose of winning gold medals. No other colour will do for them. The Germans, suspiciously off form. Rico Gross has had a good one today, but I think that the likes of Sven Fischer just holding back a little, and we'll see him coming through. Pavel Rostovtsev today, the Russian, in 2nd place. A very brave effort, moving from 6th up into 2nd, but in the end, not quite fast enough to beat Frode Andersen of Norway, who's got his 4th victory of the season, and he moves up into the top 4 of the World Cup rankings. So here are the events coming up next weekend, the start of the World Championships, the sprints taking place on Saturday. 9:30 start for the women's sprint, very early in the UK, but it will be worth tuning into, with a 12 o'clock midday start for the men's sprint on British Eurosport. On Sunday, the pursuit races. And the defending champion for the men, Rico Gross, will be out there looking to get a German victory. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, the following results: the women's individual on Tuesday, the men's individual on Wednesday, and then the women's relay on the Friday. Saturday and Sunday, the following weekend, it's the mass start races. That should be an intriguing battle between the Russians, the Norwegians and the Germans. And then the final event, the men's relay. Norway looking for their first victory since 1962. Germany, though, will start as the favourites. Well, that's all the action from Östersund. I hope you've enjoyed the 4 races we've featured here. We'll be live at the World Championships next weekend. I'll be joined by Ian Woods in the commentary box, and we're looking forward to that. I hope we'll have your company right the way throughout the week. Today, it's Anderson who takes the victory, and we'll head to Oslo with great confidence. We'll see you then. Goodbye for now.